I don't want you to buy our product. I want you to buy a good quality product that works for you. And if we can help educate people on how to go and buy a high quality product, our work is done. It's our mission to change lives through fungi. And that's how we experience the change.
All right, ladies, we are back with like all the goodness. So we have Brandi and Desiree. They've been on before. So we are going to be chatting about cyclical living, specifically with mushrooms. And I think that your PDF like explains it really, really, really well. So if you don't want to stop and take notes, then I would recommend going to the PDF that will be linked in the show notes so that you can see this all written out. But let's just dive in. Like, what made you be like, let's talk about mushroom cycle syncing? Because it doesn't exist like up until this point. Like it hadn't existed. And the benefits of it are incredible. So what kind of spurred the let's figure it out. Let's try it.
We were doing all of the other things. Cyclical living was not new to us. It's being talked about in relation to fitness and movement exercise. And that's important to Desiree and I. We know that for mental and physical health, there's probably no better prescription than to move your body. So we were already doing that, and we were working within a program that was very about syncing your cycle with the way that you move your body. Mm-hmm. And then we look at the nutrition piece, and of course, we're a wellness company that offers a food, mushrooms, as wellness, as medicine. So it made sense that we were also nourishing our bodies along with cycles. And in full transparency, Desiree, I think it's okay with you that I share that Desiree is following her menstrual cycle. I am following the lunar cycle because I'm no longer bleeding. So interesting that we're actually working out together. And the more time we've spent together, we have kind of synced ourselves. So we're not exactly, but we're very close to being able to follow that. So the way that we're eating, the way that we're moving, just feeling better when you are starting to be in sync with the rhythms of nature and understanding that although we are living in this what I will call a patriarchal society, and not to be controversial, I love men. I love women. I'm married to a man who is very much living a 24-hour cycle. He is the circadian rhythm. And I think we know that. And our world is built that way. And when you come into business as a woman who isn't the owner of a company, you don't have a choice but to live in that 9 to 5 world and the hustle and the go and the sit at the table. And I knew for me that did not feel good. I have that in me, but I do not have that in me all month long. I know when I hit the full moon, that is like, put me at the table and let's go. And there is an assertiveness and there is a productivity piece and it's in there. And I feel more like my husband at that time than any other. But what we weren't doing was using our own passion, functional mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms, as part of that. And when it just hit us that we're moving this way, we're nourishing our bodies this way, we're resting this way, why are we not also supplementing this way? Why aren't we adding that piece? And when we started to look into the research around, is there enough research to support how we could look at this? We thought, well, cyclical living really is all about balancing your hormones. Like that's what's happening. That's why people are doing it. That's the benefits we're looking for. What happens when our hormones are balanced? Everything feels better. You have more energy. Your libido is better. Your PMS symptoms are less. You're sleeping better. For some people, and we'll tell the story, your periods become regular again. And that's life changing. So is there a way that mushrooms could come in and support people to whatever one of those goals or all of those goals they're looking for? Well, we knew mushrooms, yes, they're supporting sleep, they're supporting libido, they're supporting energy, they're supporting hormone balance, they're supporting all of the things that cyclical living is supposed to support. There's going to be a way. And sure enough, as we started to do it, and I mean, Desiree and I are the living experiment in front of you. We were the clinical trial. Oh man, there's no doubt when we started syncing with them and putting a protocol together and tweaking it for fitting with our movement and our nutrition, this works. And then we went outside of ourselves and said, okay, like, are we biased because we love the mushrooms anyway? And for us to feel a difference was, we were already using them, but using them differently. So we could feel when we moved it from here to there, changed it up within the month, changed it up within the day. But could we give it to somebody else who really needs hormone balance? We have somebody that we were able to reach out to in community and trial this on, and we can talk about that today, the experience. So we're about 6 months in working on it. Why has it not existed before? Because most mushroom companies are owned by men. And here we have this experience where 7 women that are Eversio Wellness with our one powerful masculine energy that's this here on the ride. We definitely think that's why we don't see it, is because the interest in this industry, in mushroom cultivation and in this new mushroom education that we are so passionate about, has been very male driven in the past. So here we are to put a feminine feel and a feminine voice. And it doesn't mean cyclical living is only for women. My husband loves to think of the mushrooms through the seasons as well. So what winter looks like for him is very much what new moon looks like for us. And that's been a beautiful thing for us to stand in the kitchen and be doing the same rhythm and experiencing it differently, but both for benefit. So it really came out of why aren't people doing this? Let's try it. And we need to talk about this. So we're so glad we're here today to share.
Yeah. I was thinking about how we want to kind of explain this to everybody because, with a lot of different mushrooms going on, I think it can get a little bit technical. And so I would love to actually introduce it with sharing some of the stories of the benefits, and then we can get into the logistics of how you actually do it, because I have tried it. I actually not have. I do it. It's like a continuous thing. And I was not a skeptic because I know that like living with your cycle is amazing, but I was definitely of the mindset of like, well, I take almost all of them like every day. So how is this going to be any different or any better? And I knew that you were onto something when I hit the ovulatory phase, like the follicular ovulatory phase. Cause it's like, I typically have like that go, get things done, very focused, do all of the interviews, all of the things. And I just felt like the dial like got supercharged, for lack of a better term. And I was like, okay, this is maybe in my head because I'm doing this, but I didn't say anything. And one of my past clients, also obsessed with cyclical living, was like, I already have the mushrooms. So I just like jumped in when you started talking about it. And she goes, this is so weird, but like, I literally feel like my ovulation is like supercharged or something, like exact words. And I'm like, okay, it's not in my head. Somebody else.
Powered by mushrooms.
Yes. And hers was so cool because I won't even say it on here because I don't want it to get docked, but she had gotten the sickness that begins with the C. And ever since then, her ovulation was really, really late. Like she would be ovulating like at the tail end of the cycle. We're getting past the day 20. She's like, I wasn't creating a lot of cervical mucus. I was having a lot of low progesterone symptoms. And the first month, she goes, I was going to give it 3 full months, because that's how long it takes for those hormones to reset. But that first month, she was like, my ovulation bumped up to its normal time. And she's like, I was traveling, I was drinking alcohol, I was camping, and it's still like all of those things would have pushed ovulation back even farther. She's like, nope, day like 15 or something, she ovulated. And then right before her period, she messaged me again and she's like, I didn't have any brown spotting this time. That was 1 month. And I was like, okay, it's not in my head. There's another person that also, because she already did the things. Like she already knew her foundations. She did the blood sugar balance. Like she already did cyclical living with like her workouts and her nutrition. So this was literally like, it was like one of those.
The missing piece?
Yeah.
It's the missing piece.
Yeah.
And ancestrally, I think like listening to the day, like what you're saying, she's living her life.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't our ancestors. And I think so much of where people will be like, yes, cyclical living, it's what we aren't going to be able to go back and live like they did, because life today, we have the internet, we have AI, we have to adapt to how is it going to work today. And I think as we go through today, the ahas that hit me, I mean, I work with an ND all day. I'm the luckiest woman alive. I get an idea and I think, could this be? And I can literally turn beside me and go like, let's talk about cortisol, insulin, and oxytocin. And could this be why mushrooms are affecting estrogen and progesterone and testosterone? Because of this strong foundation that we're getting. And yes, we all need stress resilience. We all need blood sugar balance, and we all need oxytocin as women, that love hormone being in our world. And when we look at, well, what do mushrooms actually do? They are able to meet us here in 2024 the same way they would have met our ancestors, but they're able to adapt because they're adaptogens. They're able to come in and support whatever it is we're doing. So yes, do people still drink alcohol today? I'm not one of them. I've realized I don't need it anymore, but there are lots of people that are never going to give that up. Well, there's a mushroom to support you if you want to choose that as your life. And all of those things were kind of thought about along the way. When do women go to reach for that glass of wine before bed? And why are they doing that? And if they were reaching for some mushrooms instead, are we able to change that? Or if they're reaching for mushrooms in conjunction, is this going to feel better in their body because they're giving it the support that it's needed all along? So I love that story. Thank you so much. And we have a similar experience with this friend of ours that went through what she did. I don't know, Jez, if you want to do a little summary of what a similar story to what you just told, Leah.
Absolutely. And I will say too, like even my own personal experience when I was doing it, Leah, I felt very much the same as you, where I'm like, I'm already taking basically all of them anyways. Like now I have to segment them and do, certain ones at different times throughout the month, which we will share later on. But I was like, oh, what could be different? And it wasn't something that was like, oh my gosh, like this was like I wasn't having a period and then I had a period, because my menstrual cycle is fairly regular. It's fairly dialed in. Like I don't experience a lot of PMS symptoms because I'm pretty in tune with it, but just little changes and little upgrades where it didn't feel like it was so much that I was doing to add in all of these mushrooms throughout the cycle. Like similar to your client that you had where I didn't have brown spotting prior to my period. It like up leveled what I already thought was a really good menstrual cycle to being like, oh wow, I'm really dialed in this phase of my cycle. And I actually maybe would have a little bit of cramping prior to like bleeding, but I have no cramping. But I can feel that I'm, needing to and wanting to go a little bit more internal, but it's just feeling more connected to myself as opposed to experiencing these symptoms and having it take over my life. Because so many women, as you know, feel like they are at the mercy of their menstrual cycle and at the mercy of the symptoms. And this is something that, our friend, Cassie Harish experienced as well. So she was a member of Team Canada's Olympic team on the skeleton team. And, we connected with her, in some capacity previously. And then we reconnected with her and we had said like, hey, how are the products going? And she essentially shared with us that, for the last 3 years, my period and my menstrual cycle has been a total mess. She said like within the time span of, early 2021 to the end of 2023, she goes, of those 1,063 days, I spent 540 days bleeding.
That's insane.
So like that is almost a year and a half of bleeding. Like that's 50%. Of 3 years that she was bleeding, and she was at the mercy of it, right? Where she didn't know when it was going to come on, when the bleeding, would start, when it was going to stop. Then she wouldn't bleed for a period of time, like just so frustrating. And so she essentially said, like, I have tried everything. She goes, I have tried the conventional route. I've done all of the testing. I've been poked and prodded. And like, she's an elite high level athlete at the highest stage in the world. That she is dialing in her body and will do whatever it takes to achieve something. So she was for sure dialed in on this and, tried alternative medicine, tried a whole bunch of things, whatever, and nothing seemed to work. So, when we spoke to her and she shared, like she was at a loss. She didn't know what to do. And I think so many women can relate to that. Maybe not to the same capacity as Cassie, but in some other way, they can relate to that. And so Brandi, she had previously talked to me. She's like, I have this idea. Like, let's try the cycle syncing. Like, let's do it. So Brandi and I had already trialed that. And so Brandi said, honestly, like, it's worth a shot. Just try it. So, she was very open. Cassie said, you know what? Like, what do I have to lose? sure, like I'll try it. I very much appreciate you guys and the quality of the products and functional mushrooms. Like I'm open to this. I've tried everything else under the sun that she can think of. So, she did it. She did the cyclical living protocol. We sent it to her. That first month, she had a period. And then the next month, and then the next month, and then the next month. So she's been doing it now for the last 6 months, and she's had a period. That first month that she did it, like we had no expectations. And she had a 6-day bleed. Following that, a 5-day bleed, 5-day bleed, 5-day bleed, like in a normal cycle.
And I will jump in and say the bleed is so exciting. And I know for her, that's a great relief. And Cassie, if you're ever listening to this, the biggest thing for me was meeting her in November and December, those first times that we sat down together, and just experiencing her through a screen and her energy and her story. And like our eyes were filled with tears listening to what she was going through. And you could just sense the dysregulation and stress she was experiencing. And then talking to her again just last month, and she's a different human. She's a different human. She just has this beautiful calm and regulation is what we're experiencing in her. And we follow her on social media. She's a high profile athlete. Her husband or her fiance is an ultra marathoner. So she's very much in the public eye following what's going on. And you could just see the joy and I can't explain it other than this regulation. She explains it, Desiree. What are the words?
She says that she goes, I haven't felt this energetically organized internally in years.
I love that. Energetically organized internally. That's what we want. That is how we should all be able to feel. And it's like organizing your pantry. It just feels good when it's done. And to be able to watch somebody do that and then watch them live their life and do what they want to do today. They're not living like our ancestors did. They're living like they want to be living their best life today and have it supported this way. So yeah, she's never stopping. She's never stopping.
That's just so crazy. Like, not crazy that she's seen results. It's just crazy to like think about all of the things that she's tried and to see results that fast. And also just such proof in the pudding that how much hormones affect everything, like just having that much more calmness because you're not wired all the time and you're not, going to bed at night going, why on earth is my health this way? Like, what can I do? Is just so, so incredible. So I know now everybody's like, okay, I'm sold and I'm on board. How on earth do you actually use mushrooms for cyclical living? And I'm going to preface this by, again, come back to that document, please, because I think it will be really helpful for you to see everything laid out. And we're going to go through probably every phase and what the benefits of those mushrooms are. So I'll let you guys just take that away.
All right. Des, do you want to kick it off?
Let's do it. So with our products, essentially, and with the phases of the menstrual cycle, we have split them up so that with each phase of your menstrual cycle, you are using one of our sets. So we have the Awaken set, Balance set, and Rejuvenate set, which are on our website there. So week 1, you are starting in your menstrual phase, you're using that Rejuvenate set. Then during your follicular phase and ovulatory phase, you're using the Awaken set. And then during your menstrual phase where you're actually, not your menstrual phase, your luteal phase, you're using the Balance set. And so just as an overview for people listening, you're doing one set per each phase of your menstrual cycle for ease. So, depending on how long that is in your menstrual cycle, it's going to differ. However, and Brandi will touch on this as well, some people don't know. Some people, just like Cassie, she had no idea. She's like, I don't know what day 1 is. I have no idea. Or some people who are maybe in perimenopause or menopause and are not having a bleed or a consistent bleed. Instead of following the phases of your cycle per se, you can follow the phases of the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to link an episode for you guys in the show notes to go back to. But like, we have episodes on like, how do you track your cycle and what do you do if like your cycle is missing? So if you're like, I have no idea how to sync with the moon, I don't even know how to know which part of my cycle I'm in, go back to those episodes because those will be really helpful.
Yes. And if you have if you are perimenopausal or menopausal or know someone who is, support those menopausal women in your life, people. Cyclical living is not just for those who are looking to regulate a period or support a menstrual cycle. Using the moon is, it's not hippie woo woo. There isn't great science to support it, but there is some. And then there's you. And for me, like I said, I'm following the moon cycle and I didn't expect great change because I feel like I'm a fairly regulated person and I feel the best I felt in my life at my age. But I will say what I experienced was forcing me to recognize that I'm not a man and I do not live in a 24-hour cycle. It forced me to look at that week and really force myself to slow down. Like taking reishi at night was not something I had been doing, and we'll get to what that looks like. But taking it also created ritual for me that felt so good in my body that I hadn't felt. So I didn't experience any change in a period, but what I did experience was really coming back to how great it feels when you allow yourself rest in times where there should be rest, to allow yourself to go. Like I'm an extrovert. I love to talk, but that's how I'm going to hit burnout every single time, and probably how I wound up with an autoimmune condition because I was not recognizing any kind of cycle. So whether you're bleeding or not, as Des goes through this, man, woman, older, younger, it doesn't really matter whether you're looking at it as a season, a lunar phase, or a menstrual phase. Consider how this could feel for you.
100%. I agree.
Absolutely. So each of the phases, we have a blend in there and we have essentially mapped it out so that you're taking 3 products per day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon period, and then 1 in the evening period. So we can start off with, the menstrual cycle and starting off with the Rejuvenate set. So the products within the Rejuvenate set are Defend Now, which are turkey tail capsules, the Rejuvenate or 6 mushroom blend, which is a powdered extract blend. And then we have Chill Now, which is reishi. And so the intention behind these particular products for your menstrual phase or for when you're bleeding or, for the lunar cycle, it's the new moon, is essentially, with turkey tail in the morning, you're starting your day and you're helping your immune system, right? Think of the people who, and even myself, if I am, leading up to my period and around my period, I am more susceptible to getting sick or to maybe feeling like I could come down with something, or if people around me are sick. So taking that turkey tail to help mitigate against that and support yourself, get that extra support when you are bleeding during that phase. The Rejuvenate blend or the 6 mushroom blend, taking that in the afternoon, you can add it to whatever you like. So a lot of people love to add our blends to coffee, tea, smoothie, whatever, like a recipe, a sauce, anything really. And the intention with that is that you're getting that extra antioxidant support. So in the 6 mushroom blend, you're getting chaga, you're getting tremla, you're getting shiitake, maitake, you're getting oyster, and you're getting lion's mane. And so, you're getting that lion's mane for that extra brain support in the afternoon. But essentially with the 6 mushroom blend is you're getting a high source of ergothioneine. Ergothioneine is like a master antioxidant, and there's a ton of research to come. It's the research on ergothioneine in the next few years, I think, is going to be really big with respect to functional mushrooms. We cannot produce ergothioneine ourselves. We need to consume it from our food. And functional mushrooms are one of the highest sources, if not the highest source of ergothioneine. And it's involved in a lot of metabolic pathways, and even just supporting cognitive function. Like, for example, one study on ergothioneine was showing that as we age, our intracellular levels of ergothioneine actually decreases. And it was associated with, or they looked at cognitive impairment, and they saw that, okay, well, with cognitive impairment and those individuals who note that they are experiencing some of the symptoms of cognitive impairment or brain fog and aging and things like that, that the levels of ergothioneine are decreased. So getting that antioxidant support, and not just with cognitive impairment, but also as an antioxidant and supporting that intracellular, antioxidant capability support throughout the day, because as we're doing things throughout our menstrual cycle, and we need that antioxidant support, because think about it, when you're cramping, right, you have more production of those inflammatory molecules during your menstrual phase. And then we cap it off with reishi in the evening. So reishi is Chill Now. That's a capsule. Reishi's research on sleep support is amazing. There was one study in particular just examining how reishi is comparable to, say, a pharmaceutical like benzodiazepines. So they essentially said reishi is not a benzodiazepine, of course. That's a pharmaceutical. That's a pharmaceutical that is used for insomnia. But what they did say is that it's comparable in the sense that it improves sleep quality. It decreases the time it takes to fall asleep. It improves and increases the sleep duration. I have a Whoop strap, which is like similar to an Oura ring. Lee, I know you have an Oura ring. My HRV score goes through the roof. So essentially with that is, not only are we trying to improve the quality of sleep during your menstrual cycle, where you maybe feel more internal and you need that quality rest, reishi is also an adaptogen. And so you're getting that adaptogen support. So adaptogens are physiologically helping your body deal with stress, working on the HPA axis. Instead of shunting our hormone production and pathway into cortisol, we can modulate that cortisol so that it can be shifted into hormone production, so that we have a healthy production and healthy levels of hormones, so that we can have, a menstrual cycle and a period where we're bleeding without all of those other symptoms.
Yeah, 100%. And so I maybe just am weird, but I don't always necessarily take the blends with things, because sometimes I don't have like a drink to take them in that I want to add it to, or I just don't have one. So if someone's like, well, I don't have anything in the afternoon or when I would take Rejuvenate, I mix mine in like this much water. So I don't know, that's an ounce, and I take it like a shot, and then I chase it down with like regular water.
This is a victory for you, because when we met you, I don't know how long ago it was, but you actually, I'm going to say this, you don't like mushrooms.
I don't. No. Like the taste of them, it's so disgusting to me.
But look at you. Look at you saying the taste of it is something you're willing to accept. Look at you.
I know.
Oh, I'm a proud mushroom mama right now.
You told me, you're like,
it's so true.
You wanted me to add Rejuvenate to oatmeal, and I was like, yeah, no, I won't. But I do it because I actually don't taste Rejuvenate in my oatmeal, so I will do that.
And of the 3 blends, I will say that 6 mushroom blend, in the Rejuvenate set, is the mildest tasting, because it doesn't have the high amount of triterpenoids in it, because of the mushrooms that are chosen there. Think about oyster is a mushroom you will find at the market. It is a choice edible. We will consume tremolo mushrooms, especially in Asian cultures. It's a delicacy at dessert time. So the mushrooms that are in there, shiitake for sure it's on my dinner table at least once a week. So the mushrooms in there are functional mushrooms. They're medicinal mushrooms as identified by Health Canada and the FDA. They get that special name because of their high percentages of beneficial compounds, but they're also delicious food. So that is the blend that I think is the easiest to put in anything, because it doesn't have that bitter astringent that you will get in especially in the 4 mushroom blend with the reishi in it. That's where we're going to hit the most bitter tone. So that Rejuvenate one. I also know that, Leah, you do some seed cycling, and you will make the delicious energy balls, because I've used your recipe a few times, and that's such a nice way to sync with those little energy bites that you can make, and you can make them ahead and make enough for yourself to have through that, and just get your half teaspoon of blend by having that little midday powerhouse. I don't know if you want to share your recipe.
Yeah, we'll have to put that. We'll put that in the show notes. The recipe, you also can't taste the mushrooms. Like, trust me, I would know. I don't like the taste of mushrooms. But yeah, no, that's a great way to get them in. And it's simple. I'll just make enough for the week, and then I'll just put whatever blend I'm in for that phase. So then it's just easy. Okay, so then our next set is for follicular and ovulatory. It is both of them, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's essentially weeks 2 and 3. You can kind of think about it in a week, month, week 1, the rejuvenate set, or during the bleed, weeks 2 and 3, we're doing the awaken set, for the follicular and ovulatory phase. So the 3 products for this particular phase, in the morning is 3 mushroom blend. In the afternoon is Protect Now, which is chaga capsules. And then in the evening is Focus Now, which are our lion's mane capsules. So the reason we chose these 3 in particular, and as well as, the time of day, 3 mushroom blend contains turkey tail, it contains cordyceps, and it contains lion's mane. I know 3 mushroom blend, cordyceps, it's like your to-do list best friend. Mine too. I love to consume it in the morning because of cordyceps research on energy production. So most people are looking for that in the morning. A lot of people, it's very common and popular in our community to put that into coffee and make like a mushroom coffee or a mushroom latte. And the benefit of doing that, not only is that increase in energy, you're getting stable energy throughout the day, which is really important to have that stability throughout the day. Just like with a blood sugar crash, you don't want to, be consuming a meal that's super high in carbs so that you're crashing. Same thing with your energy levels and cordyceps there. But with respect to hormones, cordyceps has research to support that it can help modulate hormones. So it can help to modulate levels of estrogen and progesterone. Now, I will say this, a lot of people, a big follow-up question is, okay, so is it for sure going to increase my estrogen? What if I already have higher estrogen or whatever? It's different, and functional mushrooms are different than pharmaceuticals. You take a pharmaceutical, you take X, Y is going to happen. It's either going to increase or it's going to decrease. We've been conditioned by the pharmaceutical industry. That doesn't mean that, we're against pharmaceuticals by any means. But my point in bringing that up is that functional mushrooms are modulators, and they are modulating, and Brandi likes to say mushroom intelligence. So whatever is best for you and for your hormones. Maybe my estrogen is higher, maybe yours is lower, and it's going to help to modulate that. So the research on that doesn't say you take cordyceps and for sure it's going up by X amount or down. It's modulating that. And essentially they're examining the symptoms of individuals, and to say that it came into balance and came into, normal, where those symptoms aren't affecting their lives. Now, cordyceps also during the follicular and ovulatory phase is really important, because ovulation, if you're somebody who's wanting to conceive, that's really important. Cordyceps has research to support ovulations, right? It's improving egg quality in women, and it's also improving sperm quality in men. Not only that, there's research on cordyceps to increase libido in both men and women, right? If you are somebody who is trying to regulate your menstrual cycle because you want to conceive and you're experiencing infertility, well, libido is a big piece that oftentimes, with the stress of not being able to conceive or infertility, that libido, just goes out the window. Right, exactly. It's a game changer. So you're also getting that turkey tail in there in the 3 mushroom blend to support your immune system as well. And that lion's mane. That's why a lot of people will say that their mental clarity in the morning is so much more pronounced taking the 3 mushroom blend, because not only are you getting that energy, you're getting that lion's mane, which is helping with mood regulation as well. Right? Reishi and lion's mane are helping with that mood regulation. We just transitioned from the rejuvenate set in week 1 when you're bleeding, from reishi helping with mood, because a lot of people will say, well, when I'm bleeding, I'm totally miserable. Right? So you're helping with your mood. Same with lion's mane in this transition period here. Now, Protect Now, which is chaga, taking chaga in the afternoon, that 1 capsule, and just 1 capsule is a therapeutic dose. It's at the daily max on Health Canada's mushroom monograph. And with taking that 1 capsule of chaga, you're getting that antioxidant support, right? Typically in this phase, in your follicular phase, you're like, go, go, go. Like Brandi said, you're ramping up into that masculine energy, and you're doing things and you're getting stuff done, and you're very productive. So, having that extra antioxidant support from chaga can help to support you in that. And then taking lion's mane in the evening. So I know Brandi, she'll mention that that was a hard transition for her. It totally was for me. I love to take lion's mane in the afternoon after lunch. It feels intuitively right for me, but taking it in the evening was very interesting, because when we're resting, our lymphatic system is, essentially clearing the debris from our brain. And that's when we're resting. So getting that extra support from lion's mane, which has the haricinones because it's a dual extract and it's crossing the blood-brain barrier. So you're able to promote neurogenesis probably at the optimal time of day because you're going into rest mode to repair.
My mind always hurts after listening to you. I'm like, I didn't know that. I feel like I have talked to you so many times about all of these different mushrooms, about all of the different things, and I did not know that about lion's mane. Like, man, that just blows my mind. I'm over here thinking like I get more done in my ovulatory phase, so why not take lion's mane because I'll get more done in the
This is it. This is it. This is when this time, so spring, summer in the body, we call this inhale, create, celebrate.
Yeah.
Like this isn't, we've been through that winter phase where we were very inward and we were very, I think of it like the hibernating stage and permission to do that. But now we're out in the world, we're social, we're celebrating. And for me, the brain is so primed to learn things faster at this time. And let's access that. Let's give it all that it can. And I love lion's mane. It's my favorite. You're getting it twice in the day. So you're getting lion's mane in the morning and that little bit. And for me, that's enough. I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm not a coffee drinker for a reason. Desiree made me have a shot of espresso this week. I will be 48 years old very soon, and I have never had espresso. And I experienced the crash that everybody talks about. I never knew what that was. Like, cordyceps is great because it's like coffee, but without the jitters and the crash. And I'm like, that sounds terrible. Why do people drink it? I had no idea. One day I yawned more in that day than I ever have in my whole life. I'm like, why am I yawning so much? Oh my gosh, this is the crash. Why do people do this? And I get why they do. My husband, Desiree, everyone actually else here is a coffee lover, right? Devouring the fruit of the bean. They love the coffee. It doesn't sit right with me, but I see that having the lion's mane and the cordyceps in the morning, extending out where people are not experiencing that crash. Yeah, I don't ever want to experience that again. That was not a 3 mushroom blend morning for me. But having the lion's mane there in the morning, chaga for me in the afternoon, Desiree talked about it as antioxidants. It's my anti-inflammatory. Desiree makes me lift heavy weights during this phase. And I need the inflammation support, and chaga is nature's anti-inflammatory as well as antioxidant. I know it's an anti-inflammatory for my skin. I had psoriasis. I had psoriatic arthritis. I am all about keeping my skin and my joints away from any inflammation. And chaga is so beautiful at this time is when I would have experienced the inflammation because I'm doing more, because I'm working out harder. That's when the inflammation would show up. And then right when I'm like, I didn't get my lion's mane, having it at night, I think it was a game changer for me because I was just taking reishi at night all of the time. Adding lion's mane at night, it was like my brain got that chance to just have this priming to learn extra things at a time when I wanted to do that. And I felt like a genius. All of a sudden, my brain was on fire. And then I didn't want to stop after the 2 weeks.
That was me. Yeah, that was me. I used to take reishi at nighttime, and it was like pulling teeth for me to be like, okay, I'm going to do this set. We're going to give it like a gung ho and try it. And I messaged Desiree. I was like, I don't think I want to stop this set, like, and move into the next phase because it was so good. I also love
because our programming wants us to stay in the go, go, go. Like that was the eye opener for me. I was like you, I don't want to stop. Well, that's mind. That is mind. And, we're all about trying to pull the mind out of the body right now. My body wants to go, go, go because my programming is that of the world that we live in where we do go, go, go and hustle. And that was such an interesting moment for me to say, no, we don't go, go, go all the time. You had the go, go, go. It's time for you to give your body something different. And wow.
Yeah.
Why wasn't I doing this so much sooner? Sorry to interrupt.
100%. No. You are totally fine. 100%. Because if you slow down you can show up more powerfully the rest of the time. And that is a really hard concept to wrap your brain around. And I still often I like having the switch of the mushrooms. I like having the switch of the seeds because it also is telling me it is now time to switch how we are going about work. And so then it's like, okay, maybe instead of trying to schedule your calls, blah, 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 you're going to do a sauna and do whatever at nighttime and take a bath. And it's really important. I was going to say though, I just love chaga for the blood sugar aspect. That's
yes.
It's so good.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So what Leah's mentioning is we've chatted briefly about how chaga, there was this one study in particular looking at insulin resistance and looking how chaga may support blood sugar balance. And there was this one particular study that looked at, the mechanism of how chaga may help with blood sugar balance. And they found that in terms of, the specific biochemical pathway, it was acting on a pathway similar to what metformin does. And metformin is a pharmaceutical that is prescribed for individuals with insulin resistance. And so, the fact that chaga can act on that same pathway, of course, doesn't mean that it's, the same as a pharmaceutical, but the fact it's, acting on that same pathway and just seeing that in the research that, oh, this is why. Oh, that's really cool that chaga can help to maybe prevent the progression potentially of type 2 diabetes, or even just being more balanced with your blood sugar, right? So many women, Leah, you talk about this all the time, and I know you deal with this with your clients and support them, insulin resistance and balancing your blood sugar. If you don't have that as your solid foundation where you are, flexible metabolically, then it's going to be really, really hard to make any headway with other things like insulin resistance. That's a big thing. What you're eating is a big thing. How your body is responding to glucose. Mm-hmm. It's so important and it can't be overlooked.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that when we talked about Cassie and how we were experiencing her in her presence, and we know that insulin is strongly influenced by cortisol. When stress goes up, we become more insulin resistant. And we just know if we can bring the cortisol down, we become more insulin sensitive. When we become more insulin sensitive, then we balance all of those sex hormones that are causing these issues. I have no doubt that was the thing for her. It was this cortisol and insulin balance happening at that foundation. And we could see the cortisol coming down for her. And that was likely because the insulin was being influenced by what she was starting to take in with the mushrooms by that time. So, and chaga was not something that she had used before. So introducing that for that 2-week period of time is just enough to start saying, is this being affected? And you're just building that strong foundation for everything else to lie on.
100%. I love chaga. So what is our next phase? Our menstrual phase is luteal. What's our next set? That's what I should have said.
Yeah. So the last set in this cyclical living protocol is the balance set. So this is, during the luteal phase, or for the lunar cycle, it's the waning moon. So the 3 products in this phase, or it's week 4 of the month, is Energize Now, which is cordyceps capsules, Leah's favorite, Everglow Now, which is tremla capsules, and then the balance blend or 4 mushroom blend in the evening, which is reishi, shiitake, maitake, and then lion's mane. So the reason we chose these again is, so many women have during their menstrual cycle, of course, of the phases where they're experiencing, maybe the most distress, if that's the right word to use, a lot of time is, when they're actually bleeding. But also it's in the luteal phase as you're ramping up and things are changing and levels are dropping. And there's a lot that can be done in this phase to prevent chaos when you are bleeding. So you're getting that cordyceps in the morning because, as I mentioned earlier, that you're supporting your balancing of your hormone levels with the cordyceps. It's also an adaptogen, so helping your body physiologically deal with stress. And, you're getting that energy support in the morning, because as our luteal phase comes along, oftentimes we maybe feel more tired, right? I know typically when we're bleeding, we feel much more tired, but in this luteal phase, you're increasing your energy and having that stable energy throughout the day while supporting your hormones.
Without caffeine.
Yeah.
Because I think that when I listen to my friends, this is the phase where they will have the 3 cups of coffee. I don't know if it's because progesterone has that calming effect and they feel that progesterone coming in as like, I need more energy, so I'll drink more coffee. But caffeine is going to throw off those hormones and make everything, it's just that compounding. So for someone that could come in and use cordyceps in addition to 1 cup of coffee or instead of coffee, or to just lessen the caffeine at this stage, I think another game changer is in this phase, whether it is because this is autumn for you, or this is your waning, or this is your luteal, reducing the caffeine in this stage might just be it. Reducing the caffeine and then adding cordyceps helps you reduce the caffeine. So I think this is why this product is hard to keep in stock.
Yeah, you keep emailing me and you're like, stop talking about cordyceps.
I know.
Stock. And I'm like, sorry. I just want to take a moment for cordyceps though, because I that is the one thing that sold me for you guys, but this is not about me. So I was out of town 2 weeks ago, and I was in Texas, and my husband had a marathon the end of that week. And so he was going to drive with the kids to Cincinnati, which is where his marathon was, and I was going to fly into Cincinnati. So he was packing all of the stuff that they needed for the trip. And I was like, do you want me to make a list? Do you need the things? And he was like, nope, I've got it. Like, I can pack it. We're good. Okay. So anyway, I got to the house and I was getting one of the boys ready for bed. And as I was taking clothes out of the suitcase, guess what was in the suitcase?
Cordyceps.
Yes. He brought that, not for me. Like, I had my own. He brought that for himself. And like, if you, like, any guys, like, we know they're not going to pack unnecessary stuff, but like, are they going to ever pack a supplement or anything like that? No. So for the fact that like he unprompted was like, I am going to bring cordyceps, especially since I have a marathon, I was like,
yes.
I noticed you brought cordyceps. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah. Energy, stamina, and endurance. My husband Craig was an Ironman triathlete before we started this business, and cordyceps was his first love.
Yep.
And so it makes so much sense. And it was for so long, cordyceps was the man's mushroom. It was the one that was, we first called that product Warrior.
Yeah.
And we changed it because I think it is so effective for women. It doesn't matter who you are, but yes, athletes love it when they feel that extra. I mean, if you're a marathon runner and you got an extra 60 minutes in you, wow. So we have a female marathon runner. She is a world-class marathon runner. She just ran Tokyo, and she came here to Eversio HQ to pick up her big stock of both the 3 mushroom blend and her capsules. She was not going to Tokyo to run that without them. And I love that they're putting that in instead of all the synthetics that we see these athletes and young athletes putting so many synthetic chemicals, dyes, sugar, caffeine, blends of things that we don't even know what chemical compounds are in them, to try to have an advantage over other athletes. The fact that you can be powered by mushrooms in those times and that he feels it enough that he doesn't want to be without it. Oh, made my day.
Yeah, it was a big moment.
I love that. So yeah, I think having that cordyceps in this luteal phase is really important for that increase in energy, so that you don't have to, take so many cups of coffee or consume so much caffeine to feel quote unquote normal. And then in the afternoon, you're taking Tremolo, so you're taking Everglow Now capsules. And, with Tremolo, the research on that, there's some research on supporting brain health and neurite outgrowth. So, you're getting that support in the afternoon if maybe you have a little bit of brain fog. Or is that brain fog related to your energy levels or your insulin levels? Of course, we could talk all about that too, but tremolo as well, supporting the skin, right? It's acting, research is showing that it's acting similarly and like hyaluronic acid in the skin. But from the inside out, it's supporting collagen production and all of that. So, a lot of women will find that throughout their luteal phase, or leading up to their menstrual cycle, like their skin is dry and they feel like they just don't feel like themselves, like they did previously in the follicular phase where they're like, I look great. I feel amazing. So you're getting that extra support in a phase where maybe you might need that. And I personally found a lot of benefit from that. I was like, wow, I love to take tremolo, but I especially love to take tremolo throughout the luteal phase, because then I'm supporting my skin when it needs it the most. And then, in the evening, finishing the day off with 4 mushroom blend, which has reishi. So you're supporting your sleep, you're supporting your stress levels, but you're also taking an adaptogen as well. And reishi can also act on the HPA axis to help to modulate those hormone levels. So as we're transitioning it from the luteal phase into the menstrual phase where our hormones are decreasing, instead of maybe it being so staggered and like a drop and you notice the symptoms and it's so profound and being at the mercy of your hormones, it can be a better transition into that. So really, preparing your body for the bleed in a way that is physiologically less taxing on the body. And then maitake and shiitake, you're supporting the hormones as well as that antioxidant support. And then you're getting the lion's mane in that blend as well to support the brain. And you're getting it in the evening. So you're supporting that neurogenesis when the lymphatic system goes to work. So that's the cyclical living protocol. So it's, weeks 1 is the rejuvenate set, weeks 2 and 3 is the awaken set. And then week 4 in the month is the balance set.
As you're explaining it, and I'm thinking of me back in that first month and what I kind of went through. And when we look at just the evening portion, how we go from taking reishi in the evening as the full therapeutic dose, and I take 2 capsules. Some people can take 1 and they feel it. I love the 2 capsules of reishi in the evening, and then moving into the middle of the month where I'm moving to the lion's mane in the evening. And then here at the end, you're getting the lion's mane and the reishi in a smaller dose in the evening. And as part of a ritual, this was a change for me because this is the first time in the month where I'm having an evening elixir. So I would take that balance blend and put it into I warm up some almond milk. I add a bit of cocoa, a bit of honey. I put a bit of vanilla and cinnamon in it because I'm fancy, and a half teaspoon of the balance blend. That's delicious. Like that, I felt like a kid again. This was this evening ritual that had not been part of my routine. And I was like, I have to get the balance blend in at night. I just want to huck those capsules down and go to bed because that's what had been the routine. But again, no, we're not living that every day is the Groundhog Day. This is change. And to transition from here back into that new moon phase and have the reishi come in a little bit was so lovely. And to do this with family, to have this as included in some kind of connection, like let's sit down and have our evening hot cocoa, like with my daughter who appreciates that kind of a drink and that time in the evening. And for women, we're again, produce a little oxytocin at that time of day. This hormone is underrated. It's my favorite of all the hormones. It's the best hormone in the land. And we get it by connecting. We're doing it right now. I'm feeling it just being in the screen with you guys. And it's just right alongside with the cortisol, the insulin, the oxytocin. This phase changed for me so much by forcing me to do something different, to get out of the program, to start slowing down at night, knowing what was coming in the next phase, get a bit of reishi and a bit of lion's mane in at night. So I'm getting both of what my brain and my heart like, and really start to change things physically for myself. So this was the set where I was like, okay, I was not happy like you, Leah, to change from the awaken set. But it was getting to those evenings. Like the first night was hard. The second night was okay. By the third night, I'm like, I get to have my evening elixir tonight with the balance blend. And it really shifted my body to start appreciating it. And Desiree and I were doing this at the same time, but we weren't allowed to talk to each other when we did our little trial. So we're working out together every morning, but I was like, I didn't get to have my lion's mane before bed last night. And then, we could just I couldn't wait to talk to each other at the end and say, like, what did you think of that? And what will you change? What will you do differently if you weren't actually sticking to this rigid plan? But I just love that it was the 4 mushroom blend that kind of ended the month and got me set for the start of the next phase.
Yeah. You've really challenged me actually to like think about that, because that's one of my son's favorite things is to have hot cocoa. And he will, even if it's not cold outside, like he went outside and he's like, "Oh, can I have hot cocoa?" And we'll make like these homemade marshmallows. And now I'm like, "Oh, maybe we'll like change that," because he's definitely a quality time, like sit and read a book and drink hot cocoa. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a great way to like kind of slow down that night, instead of like, I 100% will put it in with my minerals and take it like a shot.
And that's fine too. We have lots of people. I just love that you're taking it like a shot. Your body is experiencing it the way our ancestors would have. You know, we were talking to a group of people. There were some indigenous people in the chat and asked, you know, came forward and so bravely said, hey, what you're talking about is not new. You know, we talk about mushrooms so often as part of traditional Chinese medicine, as part of Ayurvedic medicine, and this is also indigenous medicine. And reishi would have been part of so many evening rituals and part of indigenous communities and doing that. And it always was part of connection, part of storytelling, part of building that culture of community that's so beautiful in those traditions. So when you're tasting it, that's what it would have been, experiencing it on the palate and telling your body, here it comes, by starting right at the mouth and tasting it. So if you're brave enough to taste it and not hide it in something, you're not going to die. It doesn't taste like what you're thinking. If you don't love mushrooms, it's probably because of the way the mushrooms have been cooked. It's more likely a texture alongside a flavor. When you learn to cook the mushrooms well, like they're treats in our house because we're learning how to cook them differently. It doesn't taste that way. You're tasting a bitterness that your body probably, there's something in you that appreciates what that would have been like for our ancestors.
Yeah. It's the squishiness for me, the texture.
The squishiness?
I used to be exactly like that. I don't think I started eating mushrooms until last year. And it was a big textural thing for me.
Yeah.
I was like, it's slimy and gross. And as, you know, I'm trying the blends and they're, you know, part of the experience with the powdered extract blends is that you are tasting an earthiness if you choose to, depending on what you put it in, right? Of course, you can mask it if you put it in a smoothie or whatever, but, you know, really being in touch and tasting it. A lot of herbalists will say, like, when you're taking herbs or whatever to support whatever condition you are, that's part of the experience, is from the moment you put it in your mouth. And, you know, I think through that, as well as realizing, I don't dislike mushrooms. I just dislike mushrooms the way that they were cooked.
Mm-hmm.
And that I previously had them. Which, you know, why is that?
Mm-hmm. Because I think we are coming out of a time of mycophobia. We have lived, all three of us were born into the generations of mycophobia. I remember my mom telling me, and my mom cooked mushrooms amazingly. Thanks, Mom. That's probably why I've always loved them. But she also told me, do not pick or touch mushrooms that you see outside because they are probably poisonous and will surely kill you. And that's how we have been raised. And where did that come from? Like Desiree and I just read an amazing book, The Immortality Key, Brian Marescu, and we know why now. But when we go back in time, there's a reason we as society today have some fear around mushrooms and have this mycophobia, and therefore likely were raised by people who didn't cook them very often because they were uncertain about what would happen to us if they weren't cooked right, or if they weren't the right one, or if they weren't coming from a good source. And therefore that the way to cook them wasn't passed on. Now that we're kind of, and this is not my favorite term, but people will say the shroom boom. We are in this renaissance of mushrooms becoming more part of art and science and cooking as well. And as we learn to cook them better, I mean, even my kids didn't love them because they said exactly what you said, Leah. They're gross and squishy and I don't like them. But when you are cooking them well and you get rid of the squishiness, I don't eat steak, but my husband loves it. And the nights that he's having steak and I'm having mushrooms, he will say to me, your mushrooms taste just like my steak. And that to me is like opens the door to this whole other world. Like my mushrooms are my meat and they taste amazing, but it's because I've learned how to cook them.
You will have to make me a mushroom some point because my
You gotta
brain
come over.
cannot
They do.
compute that.
I'm going to send it to you. I will send you just how to do it. There's a trick.
The texture is the same. Yeah. It's I can confirm.
That's
okay.
tricky.
I'm going to do, I commit, I will do, I do not love filming myself on the Instagram, but I'm going to film myself cooking them the next time I do it. And you will see what they look like. And then I will show you my family eating them and how we fight over them because they're so delicious.
Okay. And then I'll be the guinea pig if I can follow directions.
Done.
Because I like genuinely dislike mushrooms. I have tried them multiple times and people are like, oh, I'm like, no, it's this.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
Yeah. So I have a couple things that I want to do before we wrap up here. One, the question of people who already know this, that like you have to take mushrooms consistently to see the benefits of them. So if you're only taking like a certain mushroom for every phase, like how are you then getting the benefits of having a long-term mushroom support?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Well, all fruiting bodies of functional mushrooms have a compound or medicinal compounds that we've heard of the term called beta-D-glucans. Beta-D-glucans, so all of our products and the mushrooms that we use after they go through the extraction process, etc., they are all tested and they have high percentages of beta-D-glucans. So this is a really great question because so throughout the phase, yes, you're changing the mushrooms, but you're also getting beta-D-glucans consistently throughout there. Now, there's also the piece of functional, like taking multiple functional mushrooms and they're working synergistically together. Herbalists will say this about herbs as well as functional mushrooms. And there's research to support that it can help to stimulate one another and help, with the bioavailability of these medicinal compounds. So you're consistently getting beta-D-glucans. You're getting that synergy of taking multiple mushrooms throughout the day and in combination together at the same time with the blends. And then, you're also getting those different medicinal compounds from the different functional mushrooms that you're taking as well. I don't know, Brandi, if there's anything else you wanted to add.
No, it's exactly what I would have said. I remember the day that I learned what is a macrophage. Mm-hmm. So the macrophage is an immune system. It's in our immune system. Macro means big, phage means eater. These are the big eaters in our body. We need them to have healthy immune function. And beta-D-glucans, and these are fungal beta-D-glucans, because people will say beta-glucans, I think that's in my oatmeal or in my cereal. Those would be cereal beta-glucans, and they're very different, and they do not have the immunomodulating power that fungal beta-glucans do. And this is why we don't want any grain in our mushroom products, because there are a lot of grain-based mushroom products out there, the mycelium on grain products that have been around a long time, and we are not bashing them. But when we test those products and we get a beta-glucan level out, I'm always wondering, is the beta-glucan level coming from mushroom beta-glucans, or are we getting beta-glucans that are from the cereal grain beta-glucan in there?
And time out. That's why you need to check the COA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our COAs are on our website, and we show that we are using the testing method that is testing for fungal beta-glucans. So they're coming from the right place. These are the beta-glucans that fit in the receptor on that macrophage, the big eater. And when I learned, I'd had skin cancer 3 times. I knew my brain was suffering from inflammation and the effects of that. And when I saw a microscopic video of a beta-glucan sitting in the receptor on a macrophage, and that macrophage being the big eater in my body that was going to go and clean house, eating up viruses, pathogens, germs, whatever, and removing that from my body, I thought, holy smokes, like the beta-glucan is saying, hey, macrophage, get this party started and go clean up. Why would we not want that happening every single day in our body? Like, go and do that while I'm doing life. It was the thing that I thought, holy smokes, I want a lot of those beta-glucans. How do we get a lot of them? Well, you need an extract, and you need a high extraction ratio extract. And we want to get that percentage up so that in that little capsule, if you think about it, some of our products have 50% beta-glucans. Half of what you're getting in that capsule is medicine. And in some countries, that medicine is a prescription medicine. The beta glucans are what are making your immune system be high functioning, not stimulated. I had an autoimmune condition. I do not want my immune system to be boosted. I want my immune system to be functioning properly so that it is balanced, so that I'm not presenting with autoimmune symptoms. So getting beta glucans in consistently, like Desiree said, it doesn't matter which mushroom you take. All of the medicinal mushrooms, if they're extracts, have high percentages of beta glucans, and getting those in and keeping that immune system functioning is something that you are getting every single day, no matter what mushroom. And when you're taking some of our dual extracts, so the chaga, the lion's mane, and the reishi, you're getting the triterpenoids in that, like Desiree said, the triterpenoids enhance the benefits of the beta glucans. And science shows us that. So we're sprinkling in, when you're getting the triterpenoids alongside the beta glucans and all of these other compounds. There's no doubt they were meant to work together. When we look back in time, nobody was taking just one mushroom. It was always some kind of synergy. They are better together. And that's what we felt when we started using more of them instead of being picky and I just want to take lion's mane because I love it. Well, let lion's mane be friends with chaga. Like, why aren't we trying them together? And when you do, if you don't stick exactly to the plan, at least you've listened to your body and you know what it felt like for you. And if you want to change it, if you want to take the blend and a capsule both in the morning and not do something in the afternoon because that's not convenient for you, that's fine. But getting the 3 in sometime throughout the day and really honoring what the rhythm feels like for you, because it's not just 24 hours.
Yeah. And I feel like now is the perfect time for my spiel on why you should care about where your mushrooms are coming from. I was at this training, the same place where I was just talking about, and we got onto the topic of mushrooms. I like, my journals are your guys' journals, and like I have the bag as I carry my stuff in. So people are like, "Oh, I just love that bag that says the future is fungi," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, let me tell you about it." But we were talking about mushroom products, and they were like, "Oh, it's so cool that this, product has lion's mane in it." And I was like, "No, it really doesn't." And they're like, "Yeah, it does. It's on the label." And I was like, "Yeah, that's just marketing. And you are getting 0 lion's mane from that product." And at that point, I don't mean to start a war, but I'm like, why are you?
You were preaching.
Yeah, I was. Because I'm like, we pay more for this marketing of like lion's mane because we've heard the benefits, or reishi, and then you're not even getting the benefits of it, because all of these products out there, they go, "Oh, you get a therapeutic dosage of reishi. It's 500 milligrams." And I'm like, okay, so I then am going to have to take 7 scoops to get to where I want to be. And at that point, I'm going through that bottle in 5 days. And so when you're looking at mushroom products and you're comparing pricing, you actually really need to be looking at dosage, because if you go on Eversio's website, you'll see, like, for example, the reishi, and I hope my numbers are correct, but I'm pretty sure with one capsule, you're getting the crude equivalent of 4,000 milligrams. And
3,750. So you're very close.
okay,
Yeah.
Very close. So that is an actual therapeutic dosage. You have to be getting over 3,000 milligrams. And if you look at all these other products, because people will come and they're like, "Well, I want to do this one because it's cheaper." And I'm like, great. So you're going to have to take 12 of those capsules every single day to reach therapeutic dosage. And they're like, "That's $100 a month for one product." I'm like, yeah, it's actually not cheaper.
Yeah.
When you do the math.
Why we started this company. That was me. You just described me. I'm a young elementary school teacher, never taking the high-end supplements my whole career because I couldn't. And then when it came to mushrooms, I made the same mistake. I bought the least expensive one with the most reviews. And then when I read that research, it's all about the research, and it's widely available. Today, when we look on PubMed, there are over 6,000 studies on medicinal mushrooms. It's available and free to all of us. Self-education is so important. It is one click away for you to see that all of the good research shows how much mushrooms people were taking when they had these benefits that we're talking about. And that's why we built this product. That is why we built the product we did, because I didn't want to take 12 capsules and empty my bank account. I wanted to take one capsule and trust it. I wanted it to be organic. I wanted it to be a therapeutic dose. I wanted it to be a mushroom that had been grown on wood because the research clearly shows that's where these mushrooms are getting their beneficial compounds in nature. When you become the mushroom nerd and you go out in the forest, every single medicinal mushroom grows on wood, except for cordyceps. They are all growing on wood. Why are we growing them on grain? Because it's fast, because it's cheap, because it's easy. And anybody that tells you, no, that's not why, wants you to buy their product. And I don't want you to buy our product. I want you to buy a good quality product that works for you. And if we can help educate people on how to go and buy a high quality product, our work is done. It's our mission to change lives through fungi. And that's how we experience the change. So if you look at the people who are taking the functional mushrooms that are whole fruiting body and I don't know, you make the decision for you, but read the research and it does not lie.
Yeah. And then bouncing off of that, I know someone will look at like all of the different sets and they're like, okay, this is 9 different products. Like, I don't want to buy 9 different products every single month. And you are not, if you are doing cyclical living with mushrooms. So you can buy all 9 products at once. They have that as a set, which is, it's discounted. And then you can always stack with, the code Leah for an extra 15%. Is that what it is? Yeah. 15% off. But you can also do the individual sets for each phase of your cycle. So let's say you just want to start with one set, and then, the next month, maybe you add on the second set, and the next month you add on the third set. So you're just buying them that way. But also, like, just think about it for a second. You're using one of the sets just for your menstrual phase. That means that you're only using that set for 5 to 7 days. You're only using one serving, and each one of them has 2 months.
60 servings. Yeah.
So if you're just doing the math, like you're only using that for 5 days and it has 60 servings, like that's going to last you a lot of cycles. So I think that really helps to kind of like put it into perspective, because I've had people say, oh, I'm not going to buy all of the sets every month. It's like, you're not meant to. That's not how it works. So it's definitely much more cost effective to kind of like look at it that way.
Yeah. And people have asked us, how long will it last? It depends on you. It depends on how much you're taking. So you will notice that, like for turkey tail, for instance, I take one turkey tail capsule, and I have been sick one time in the last 4 years. And I take the 3 mushroom blend, and it has turkey tail in it. And that's obviously enough turkey tail for me for those amazing immune system benefits, right? We call the turkey tail capsules Defend for a reason. They are helping your defense system. So if we are thinking about, for me, taking one capsule of turkey tail in that new moon or menstrual phase, and that's about 6 days when I do it, I've used 6 capsules out of a jar of 60. That jar is going to last me 10 months. Somebody else might take 2 turkey tail capsules. People that are really support people that are going through chemotherapy are being told by doctors to take a higher dose. And in Canada, you can take up to 27,000 milligrams of turkey tail. And that's safe under Health Canada. So that would be 4 of our capsules. Obviously, you're going to go through the jar faster. So it really going through it for 1 month. And yeah, I love the idea of starting with one set and add that to your month. And then add the next set when you're ready, and the next set, and then decide, what do I need to refill? And along the way, it's going to last you a long time, unless your husband starts using your capsules and you're adding a little extra to this recipe or that recipe, and we start to go through the blend a little faster than we had expected.
And the biggest thing too for me, I mean, aside from what I mentioned, where I felt like it really up leveled being in tune with my cycle and some symptoms where I noticed some improvements there. I mean, I take all the products anyway. I work at Eversio Wellness, so I love all of the mushrooms and all of the products. But throughout this, just like, you, Leah, and Brandi had said, we're being forced to take certain ones at certain times and really come back to ourselves and be in tune with ourselves. It really provided that awareness for me of, oh, I actually really like this product, or really like this mushroom, or really like this mushroom at this time, or this product at this time. And so that was really helpful for me to have that awareness and have that data and information of, oh, this actually really helps me the most. maybe for you, like taking cordyceps specifically in the luteal phase, taking the Energize Now, maybe that is something like for you that really helps with your symptoms. But maybe taking the Rejuvenate or the 6 mushroom blend during my bleed midday is like something that really works for me. So it really depends. And of course, you know, in terms of the dose, like Brandi had said, just with one serving, you're getting a therapeutic dose, and some people will take more or less. Everybody is different. Brandi loves to take 2 capsules of reishi. I like to take 1, just because I'm sensitive to reishi, and I find that's optimal for me. So in terms of dosage, you can start lower and monitor that. But it's okay to give yourself permission to trial the dosage for what works best for you. Like sometimes I will take 3 or 4 capsules of Defend Now because everyone around me has the flu and I'm feeling worn down and I'm bleeding and I know that I'm more susceptible. You better believe I'm taking a high dose turkey tail because there's no way I'm getting sick. And it's worked for me because I've had that awareness and I've been able to come even more in tune with my body. So I think for those who are listening, this is a great guideline and a great starting point if you're bleeding, following your bleed cycle, your menstrual cycle, if you're not following the moon, if you are not somebody who has a period or, you know, following the seasons, it's a great starting point. And then from there, you're going to have all of that data for you to identify what works best for you.
Nobody knows your body as well as you do. Nobody.
100%. So we're going to put the link in the show notes to download the Cyclical Living Guide. If you're just listening and show notes are weird for you, go to Eversio.com wellness.
EversioWellness.com.
I don't even have to type that into my search bar anymore because my computer just knows. So that's a very good point. Thank you. And check out the mushrooms. You can definitely reach out to them if you have any questions. You can use the discount code LEAH, LEAH, to save 15%. And thank you so much, ladies, for coming on again.
Leah, you're so brave to let us talk about crazy stuff like this. Like we said, nobody else is talking about this. I hope that this starts a conversation about it. And I can't think of anyone better than you. You're already talking about this. And it's just so cool that it already fits in with the way that you're doing it and that you were brave enough to try something different. So thank you so much for honoring that with us.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Leah, for having us. We always love to dive into the research and I feel like we could talk for hours and hours and hours. It's just a safe space to have a conversation and, you know, chatting with like-minded individuals with no judgment about things. Oh, this might be a little out there, and really going into the research. And really, I think I can all say that all of us are passionate about quality because we all have our own individual health story where we felt like we were ripped off. People who are experiencing these changes in their menstrual cycle, like when you feel so desperate, you are willing to spend your money because at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, what do you have? Right? You need health and love and safety. Health is just so important. And I was one of those people who was desperate. Like I cannot function properly. Something is wrong. I have a concussion and I can't even remember my friends' names. And I'm 20 years old. Like you're desperate to spend anything. And unfortunately, that's where sometimes marketing can get the best of us. Right. But I really appreciate that you are sharing your platform to talk so openly and honestly about quality because it matters. Just, you know, if you're listening, educate yourself about functional mushrooms. That's what we love to do. Brandi was an elementary school teacher. We love to educate. Leah's always educating about every product that she takes and just being more in tune with yourself. So thank you so much for sharing this platform with us. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.